Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here. We're going to have a fun show. We're going to talk about cow dog wellness. Got Dr. Susan Nelson here, who's a clinical professor from the Pet Health Center at Kansas State University. We're going to talk about things such as vaccination, parasite control, poison prevention, lots of good things about maintaining the health of your cow dog.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Hey folks, welcome to the show. Dr. Nelson, thanks
Hello.
for being here. Folks, this is Dr. Susan Nelson. She is a clinical professor here at the Pet Health Center at the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University, and we always like having you on the show. It's great information, and today we're going to talk about taking care of the cow dog and cow dog wellness.
Very important. Okay, so to start off with, one thing we need to think about is vaccines for our dogs. So we have what we call core and non-core. Core is what everybody needs to have. That's going to include your distemper parvo combination vaccine. Those are diseases that even the local coyotes, fox can bring into your pets too. And oftentimes fatal if your dog gets those. And then the big one's going to be rabies. We have rabies all around the United States. Doesn't matter where you live, different forms of it. And so we want to make sure that they're kept up to date on their rabies vaccines.
So in those, obviously the rabies vaccines, you need to get your dog into the veterinarian because
Yes,
those are...
The rabies vaccine needs to be given by a veterinarian. But and ideally, having your dog in at least once a year to have it checked out by your veterinarian to make sure there's no illnesses or anything happening with it.
You bet.
And then we have a couple other what are called non-core vaccines. Probably one of the bigger ones for your ranch dogs can be leptospirosis. That's a bacteria that can be shed through the urine. Raccoons, mice, rodents, cattle, pigs, something your dog can pick up can potentially be fatal. They can also pass it to you. This is what we call a zoonotic disease. So every farm dog's going to be at risk for this one. Even the little house dogs who live out on the farm, they're going outside too. So we need to get
got some bad habits of getting
doing
their nose
things.
and eating things they shouldn't.
Yep. And then some of these ranch dogs, even though they're on the ranch, working on the ranch, may also be participating in agility, field trial, things like that. And so you might want to think about vaccinating for some of your upper respiratory diseases such as Bordetella, kennel cough, canine influenza, depending on where you live and where you're traveling to.
So most of the time, if you're looking at core vaccines or non-core vaccines, if you talk with your local veterinarian, they're going to have a pretty good idea of what's endemic.
Exactly. They know what's in your area, can give you the best advice for your dog.
Lyme's disease?
That's going to be a problem more in the little east and then north of here too. There again, talk with your veterinarian and see what they recommend about vaccinating your dog for that.
Okay, and so when we talk about the vaccinations, actually the distemper and rabies, they're every year, or can be every 3 years?
Depending where you live, distemper parvo combination, we do a series, and then once they have that first year booster, we go every 3 years with that. Rabies, we can go every 3 years, but it's dictated by your local and or state ordinances. Okay. So you have to go by the law for that one.
And if you have a dog, I think that some people don't especially when we get out into rural communities, is there any liability of me not getting my dog rabies vaccinated? Or
yeah, that's a good question, because if your dog bites someone who's coming to visit you and is not current on their rabies vaccine, the quarantine period and the expense that goes in with that is all on you.
Okay, well, folks, make sure you get your dog in, annual evaluation, annual checkup, and shots as needed. Make sure you work with your local veterinarian. When we come back with Dr. Nelson, we're going to continue on this talk, and we're going to talk about parasite control in the cow dog.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.
Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego is driven by the spirit of American ingenuity. Come in for a new Chevrolet car, truck, or SUV. If we don't have exactly what you want, we'll find it for you. And we also have a great selection of used cars. We make sure you have an easy, fun, and transparent sales experience that saves you time and money. But if you want high-pressure salesmen and hours spent in the finance office, you'll just have to go elsewhere. Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're making car buying great again.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. This segment is brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Susan Nelson. She is the clinical professor and works here as a veterinarian in our Pet Health Center, which is located in the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University's College of Veterinary Medicine, and talking about taking care of those cow dogs. And,
yes, we are.
And parasites, different types of parasites, right?
So we break down parasites in the internal or external parasites. So we'll start with the internal parasites, or the worms, as people. So our farm dogs they're privy to catching a lot of these worms. Tapeworms are common, usually not life-threatening or cause severe disease, but they can get those for either eating a flea or eating dead rodents, mice, things like that, rabbits. So all those carry what we call an intermediate host, so they're commonly infected with that. Roundworms, hookworms, whipworms are also very common for our farm dogs. The local wildlife, there again, the coyotes, the foxes can all keep that reservoir going also. Balis ascaris is a type of roundworm carried by a raccoon that can also be fatal for people. And so we want to make sure we keep our dogs dewormed for those. Although it doesn't cause much disease in the dogs, they can still pass out those eggs into their feces, and then they can be contagious to their owners.
And if you have them around show hogs or anything like that, it can have dramatic effects, of Balis ascaris can on hogs.
Oh yeah,
and
so
central nervous disorders and have them go down. And
they will go and eat those things that hogs like to eat. So yes, including the dog's feces.
That's right.
Giardia, which they can get through contaminated water, is also going to be very common. And so that's another disease that if they're having chronic diarrhea, you would want to have your veterinarian test them for. The good news is for a lot of these intestinal parasites, our heartworm preventive also covers those, which is another parasite we need to talk about. So heartworms are a mosquito-transmitted disease that dogs can get. Pretty much been documented in all the states in the United States, except Alaska. If they have it there, they came to it from some other place with it. But anyway, we want to protect our dogs. It's expensive to treat them. It's a lot easier to prevent it. And there again, it covers several of these medications will deworm for several intestinal parasites.
So if I'm covering them for heartworm, a lot of the products I'm using for heartworm are going to cover for all the rest of these.
A lot of them. We have some that will do roundworms, hookworms, whipworms, and tapeworms along with their heartworms.
Wow.
So it gets a lot of bang for your buck. And then the other thing we need to look at is external parasites like fleas and ticks. Where I already talked about, fleas can transmit tapeworms to your dog. However, flea allergic dermatitis, so very itchy skin, breaking out in infection is very common too. If they have enough fleas, flea bite anemia is a problem. And then we come to ticks, our favorite.
I know.
So, all right, so
ticks
transmit a lot of bad diseases, not only to our dogs, but they can also transmit those diseases to us. So your dogs can bring in some of these ticks into the house if they come in and out of the house, and then they can come onto you and transmit diseases. But things like ehrlichiosis, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, Lyme disease, depending on the area of the country you're at, are just to name a few.
Yeah, and so to control fleas and ticks, there are many different products, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of topicals. There's some great new oral medications. So if your dogs are in the ponds a lot, keeps it from washing off. And so there's a lot of things. So the best advice is talk to your veterinarian, see what the problem is locally in your area and what products seem to work best.
Great information. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about how to maybe keep your dog out of a few things that might keep them from getting sick, and something they might eat to keep them active and getting after the cattle. Thanks for watching Doc Talk. More after these messages.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This Meet the Future Veterinarian is brought to you by Zuprevo. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Brendan Martin was raised on a beef cattle, poultry, and crop farm in Virginia. During college, he worked and interned in the cattle industry while raising his own Angus herd. As a result, he became interested in bovine reproduction and the power of genetic progress within a cattle herd. After graduation, Brendan started Valley Herd Health in Virginia, working mainly with beef and dairy cattle. The BQA Tip of the Day, sponsored by Beringer Engelheim Vetmedica, Inc.
I'm Dr. Kip Lukasevich with Production Animal Consultation. Today's BQA tip of the day is bud box facilities. We're at a feed yard today that has a bud box. It's becoming more and more popular. The advantage of the bud box is that it's a facility that has open sides. It has one solid side, which is the gate, which they come in through. But it takes advantage of cattle's natural behavior in that cattle like to see what's pressuring them and they like to return where they came from. And so the way our alley is set up is so that the cattle come into the box first and they make a turn and they come back around and then they go right down into the double feed alley and they go straight, which cattle prefer. The advantage of the bud box is that if we have one that is giving us problems going into the alley, and sometimes that happens, we have a gate here that we can swing and bring around to narrow that up and have him go in. And if we have one that is kind of ornery and doesn't want to cooperate with us that way, we can easily come through here and come through the gate and work from the outside. And if we need to, we can have a flag or something that we can utilize to work from the outside and have the cattle come in as well. Both ways work really well, and that's how you stay safe working in a bud box.
Hey folks, Dr. Dan from DocTalk. Have you asked yourself, how can I help provide relief to wildfire victims? Well, you can go to the Ashland Community Foundation, or you can go to the Kansas Livestock Association Foundation and make monetary gifts. Another way, you can buy this beautiful print that was painted by Dr. Eva Gardner of the Gardner Angus Ranch of Ashland and Clark County area before the fire. This painting will be sold through the Kansas Livestock Association Foundation, and all proceeds will be provided to victims of the wildfire.
We do business with Blueville because of the quality of their work. It is excellent quality, and because they make a commitment to their customers.
We enjoy the benefits of hiring a good company to help us maintain this home.
We will always do business with Blueville. We have for many, many years, and there's no reason for us to look for any other service.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Susan Nelson. We work at Kansas State University, where Dr. Nelson is the clinical professor here at the Pet Health Center and the Veterinary Health Center at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University. And Dr. Nelson, we're talking about wellness in the cow dog. Mm-hmm. And let's go into some of your feeding and food type recommendations.
Okay, so obviously our dogs need to be fed and have some water. That's, if you want to keep them around, you need to grow them up right. So always have fresh water available. We don't want them accidentally having to crawl into a stock tank and falling in and drowning. So we need to make sure there's water access for them, fresh water. And then feeding, you need to find a food that fits well with your dog's lifestyle. So if they're high energy, they may need a higher caloric food. Mm-hmm. If they're just now starting to lay around the porch more because they're getting older, you might need to cut back those calories, find a lower calorie food. But basically you want a food that has a good brand name, and then their performance, they perform well on it. So they can do the job that they're supposed to be doing.
Right, and again, when we look at moving those dogs, you know, larger mm-hmm. frame dogs versus smaller frame dogs.
It's very important, especially since a lot of these farm dogs are going to be, some of them are going to be larger breed dogs. that we have a food that's appropriate for that growth stage and for that breed. And so puppies of large breeds that are growing very quickly really need to be on a food that's for those types of puppies. We call it large breed puppy foods. And to make sure we're trying to do what we can to avoid some of the musculoskeletal issues that can develop along the way.
And then there are some things we don't want them to eat, right? That might be around the farm, maybe some poisons or some things that we need to watch out for.
Yeah, probably the two most common poisonings we're going to run into is antifreeze, especially when there's leaks from the tractors or the vehicles. And it just takes a teaspoon to a tablespoon or so to kill your dog. And so you want to clean up these spills immediately and not have access to that if possible. The other is going to be rat poison. Now, a lot of the rat baits are now in pet-proof containers. I haven't tested that, so I don't know how pet-proof they are. But so let's say they can't get into the container. The problem is, especially your terrier breeds and stuff that really like to hunt the mice and rats, they're going to go after even the poisoned ones. And they can get poisoned what we call secondarily by consuming enough of these mice or rats who have eaten the poison. Then they get poisoned by having enough accumulate into them from eating those, because that's a big concern.
I hadn't even thought about secondary poisoning, especially with the rat or the pet-proof containers. What are some of the clinical signs, or what are some things that a person should do if you think that your dog has gotten into like a rat poison or something?
Yeah, so either rat poison or antifreeze, those two, if you can, because it may be a while before you can get them into a veterinarian, depending on how far out you live. You'll want to induce vomiting, and I'd recommend you talk to your veterinarian about the best way to do that at home, to try to get that out of their system. There are some things we don't want to induce vomiting, so you might want to take a look at what you have around your property and look at the containers, because if it says on the container, don't induce vomiting, don't induce it. Yeah, but definitely rat poison, the ones that make them bleed out. There's another type of rat poison when we make them vomit. The fumes from that can also be toxic to us. And so you need to make sure you're doing that out in a well-ventilated area.
Gotcha. Well, great information. Make sure you work on the proper nutrition for your dog. Make sure puppy versus working dog versus geriatric. And then make sure you clean up the antifreeze in the shop and things to that nature. Just things we don't think about on a routine basis that we need to be reminded of, especially this time of year. When we come back, we're going to wrap up with Dr. Nelson. We're going to talk about some things about training, maybe some phobias, different things that your dog could use, or maybe something that your dog's going through. More after these messages.
I'm Rexanne Struve, veterinarian in Western Iowa. I have a veterinary clinic and started doing stem cell therapy on dogs in August of 2014. And after the first 2 dogs, after 3 weeks, I saw such dramatic results. I said, hey, I have arthritis. I have joints, really need this help. Where can I go to get this done? I had stem cell therapy done in November of 2014 on my finger joints, my hip, and the ball of my left foot, all of which I'd had real severe problems with. Saw a pretty dramatic improvement in a short amount of time. I would certainly recommend that somebody don't wait until I'm in the position that I was in with the damage already done to my joints. I encourage veterinarians to use it for their animals, and I encourage anybody who sees this video, if you have need, get in contact with these people, because this is a phenomenal place to have this done.
Did you know long-range planning through the checkoff can help keep your business profitable? To successfully pass on cattle operations from one generation to the next, it's important to promote beef and keep farms and ranches profitable. Your beef checkoff helps do that.
I'm Will Thomson. I'm part of Townsend Ranch. It's a ranch my grandparents started. They actually raised their family and started growing their cow herd right here. I would be the 3rd generation on the ranch, and daughter and expecting a son would be the 4th generation on the ranch. The beef checkoff has done a lot of things for the beef industry. The biggest thing, when you look at it from a 30,000-foot view, is that it's brought a lot of different segments together to promote beef. And I don't think that is done easily. I think that's a very big feat.
And when the checkoff dollar is collected, the money is spent for educational purposes. A lot of them are national programs, and the state takes the national programs and runs with them. So not only do our own local producers benefit from that, but nationally.
Yes, I really like the research and development aspect of the beef checkoff. Adding value and development of new products, new beef cuts, things like the flat iron steak. That's a huge deal, again, that with a segmented industry probably wouldn't have been done without the beef checkoff. And then both domestic and foreign marketing is something that really probably wouldn't be done by different segments of the industry without them all coming together. Again, that probably wouldn't have been done without the beef checkoff.
And I don't know who would promote our product if we who are raising it don't promote it ourselves.
Healthy cows start with the new hired hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher, leaving more time to tend to other vital tasks on the farm. To learn more, visit cowsprayer.com. The new hired hand makes healthy cows easy.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Susan Nelson, who is a clinical professor here at Kansas State University in the College of Veterinary Medicine. And as we were talking during break, one of the things when we kind of triggered our mind on poison and parasite control is that off-label ivermectin.
Yeah, ivermectin, using cattle ivermectin or equine ivermectin in your dogs is very tempting to save some money, but it does come with some risk. A lot of our farm dogs are herding breeds, and a lot of these herding breeds are more sensitive to overdosages of ivermectin. You have to be extremely careful. These are very concentrated products, and it's really hard to get it to a small enough dose to be safe for these dogs. I'll throw in for the farm cats too, because we do see a lot of ivermectin toxicities. So even though it's tempting to use it, talk to your veterinarian at least about the proper dose or using something that's actually labeled for dogs that's based on ivermectin.
Good, great information. And then, you know, one of the things we don't think about, we think about training our dogs for their job, but there might be some other training that is necessary.
Yeah. One thing you want to think about is trying to train them to not chase the vehicles, because you may have a very good herding dog that you don't want to lose to being hit by a car, whether it be the mailman or your own truck. So deterring them and learning training methods to keep them from chasing the vehicles would be very important. Teaching them not to chase the neighbor's cows or the chickens, or you may not have a dog coming back home one night, unfortunately. So, and if you can't get them trained, you may have to keep them confined when you are not at home so you can be watching them.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing is keeping them confined, keeping them from, training them. There's a lot of different tools out there to help train dogs to stay close to the house or within a radius, because there's nothing more frustrating, even as a neighbor. I know my dogs get out on y'all's places, sorry neighbors, okay, but having, when another dog shows up to your place and it disrupts your dog's behavior, many different issues.
Yeah, and so that would go along with socializing your dog too, and just when the other dogs show up, to try to avoid some fights.
What about some of these phobias that dogs can go through? I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, so we think about this more because we see it more with our city dogs, but farm dogs get thunderstorm phobias too. You may be able to shoot a gun all day around them, but boy, the storms roll in, they may develop into a little withering, dribbling piece of...
Yeah. So what are some of the things when we talk about phobias, what are some of the things that, can we do something about it, or do we just need to be aware that...
Right. Well, I think being aware is the key part first to know if there is a problem. And then if it's mild, there can be some training tips and some non-prescription medications that can be used during those times. If they're very severe, talk to your veterinarian. They very well may need prescription medication to aid them. And a lot of these medications will not interfere with their functioning to work. Great.
Well, thank you so much, Susan, for being here on the show. Folks, Dr. Nelson, wealth of information, someone I love having on the show. Thank you for watching DocTalk today. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian, and if you want to know more about what we do here at DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Susan Nelson. You've been watching DocTalk today, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.